welcome to another episode of Relics Radio. This is a family-friendly show, so the entire family can join us as we talk metal detecting, relic, and treasure hunting. You can also call in to the show at 270-495-0315 or join in the chat and post any comments or questions you might have. Relics Radio is also now syndicated on goodtalkradio.com and has a show each Sunday afternoon at 2 p.m. Arizona time. You're listening to Relics Radio of Southern Kentucky and Middle Tennessee. And you are listening to Relics Radio on Spreaker.com. If you're listening to Spreaker.com, live April the 25th, 2019, or you may be listening to our syndicated version through the Cutting Edge Radio Network. Want to welcome you wherever you are. Or you may be catching an archive show either on Spreaker, iHeartRadio, iTunes, Podbean, or anywhere that you get your podcast. And but we've got quite a few that have got into the chat here now, and we're ready to get this show up and going. I'm your host. I'm Digging with Seven.
And I'm your co-host, Tennessee Jeff.
What's up, Jeff?
Not much. You get any relic hunting done this week?
Oh, yeah. I'm still working on that cavalry camp. And,
well, that's good.
And mowing.
Go ahead. And mow. That's what I was about to say. I heard through the grapevine that you were out there with the lawnmower and broke your lawnmower and had to have it fixed and headed back out there with it again. So.
I did. And, I threw a drive belt off of it. It'd been getting pretty rough. But it's some pretty rough mowing, too. They bush hogged it, but, it was really, really growed up. And so there's some little small saplings and things that were in there and big old weeds and stuff. So it's pretty tough on just a regular mower like what I've got.
Yeah. I need to get mine up there, but, well, you're saying little saplings and stuff like that. I don't know now.
Oh, no. It ain't anything that my mower won't handle. You just have to kind of go slow. And I've got the worst of it done. The bad spots, I've got over half of it done. But won't we do anything to find a bullet or two?
We will. What was it? A couple of weeks ago, you cleaned out the whole woods. Looked like it'd been logged where you've been cleaning out the undergrowth, and then
found one bullet under that tree.
Well, hey, that's one relic saved.
That's one bullet I didn't have. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know about these guys that go out there and find 30, 40, 100 bullets. I'd probably just pass out if I could do that. We have to work for everything that we get down here.
Yeah, we sure do. It's work, and it's getting harder and harder to get out every day. And of course, been tied up here at the house and with Avery, and of course, Mom and Dad, and it's just, never-ending story. I'm sure you can, you know what I'm talking about. So.
Yeah, well, it's same here, but I catch an hour or so every now and then. And old Half Redneck is in the chat. I see him in there. At least he's watching the chat and taking care of everything. But, hey, I got a funny story to tell you, Jeff. I got a bad part of the story. I blew out my 11-inch double D coil on GPX, and that's all I'm using now is my GPX. That's my go-to machine. I don't care where I hunt. I love that machine. Nothing's going to get any deeper, and I learn more and more and more about it. But anyway, I blew that 11-inch double D out, and they're sending me another one. I got a hold of Debbie, and mine's still under warranty, so they're sending me another. But anyway, I got this signal that was, one of those signals that sounds kind of like a bullet, but you really can't tell because it's a deep signal. So I thought, well, I think that it probably is. I'm going to dig it. So I dig down, and with Matt Howell and them up there, I got me a new big shovel where I can dig big old holes now, And so I stick that thing down in the ground, and I dig me a big old hole, and I look, and there's a hole in the middle of my hole, and this snake comes out, and he's out about 6 inches with his head poked out there, you know.
Oh,
and
no.
I don't know who was more surprised, me or him, when he come out, but I told him, I said, if that's a bullet down there, I'll trade you a field mouse for it. Well, he kind of looked at me for a minute, and he said, show me the mouse. I said, show me the bullet. And he just stuck his tongue out and went back down in the hole, so I dug the rest of it out. Sneaky little snake. It was a square nail.
Oh, no kidding. Well,
yeah.
I know our guest tonight. He loves snakes, doesn't he?
He does. And go ahead and bring him in, because I know he wants to comment on that.
Heath Jones, what would you have done if that happened to you?
I would have been expending rounds. Large quantity of rounds. It would have sounded like a small war went off. I hate snakes. Now, I don't kill the non-poisonous snakes. I actually don't. But poisonous snakes, it'd probably been bad.
Oh, this wasn't a poisonous snake. This was a black snake. But
yeah. See, they killed the poisonous snake, so
yeah.
I'd have let him go.
Yeah.
I would have tried to talk him out of the bullet, probably.
Well, he went back down in. See, he was trying to negotiate with me. I was trying to negotiate with him. You got to make every story just a little bit better, don't you guys?
Oh yeah. Well, it sounded like negotiations broke down at some point, though.
Yeah, it did. He just stuck that tongue out as they normally do, and he just kind of looked. I ain't got time for this old man. And another funny thing happened. I'm not going to tell you because it's going to be at the start of the third video that I'm going to put out on this. But all of you guys on chat will get a kick out of this because it's something that everybody always says about me. And so, spoiler, I'm not gonna spoil it, but you got to watch the third video in order to see that. Hey, Heath, we miss you guys on History Seekers, the podcast.
Yeah, we miss doing it sometimes, but I tell you the technical stuff, you put in a lot of hours. I know you do, keeping this thing up and running, and unfortunately, there wasn't enough hours in the day for me anymore. But we're talking about doing something kind of maybe in the future, sometime this year. Maybe towards the end of the year, maybe doing a YouTube version, kind of a hangout, kind of like what Matt Howe does with Gone Digging. Do that sort of thing. So we may try to be back at some point doing that. Just probably not back on the full podcast type thing.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of Matt's videos on YouTube and stuff, the live videos, and that's a pretty good way to go. I mean, I've thought about doing some of the live digs myself, like on a Facebook Live, but it's just you get in a moment, and then next thing you know, you've got the bullet in your hand or the relic in your hand, and you think, well, it's too late, and then you kind of have to plan for it before you actually do it. So,
yeah, that's the only bad thing. And two, then the footage is shot with your phone is not at the quality that you want, and you're like, man, I wish I had this for the YouTube video, and so I don't know. We're going to kick it around, and I think what we're going to do if we come back and do that type of thing, probably just hang out like what we were doing on chat, like you guys are doing tonight, and except they could see our facial expressions, which may add a whole nother level of entertainment to things. Or if I get up and start dancing, like I do sometime when the music starts playing, which I do that every time your music comes on, Lloyd. I have to confess. So I was doing it a while ago. You guys just couldn't see me.
I felt it.
It's a good thing, man.
I felt it.
Yeah, well,
I felt the earth move.
I tell you.
It did in Chattanooga whenever you and Butch were doing your little dance whenever I was playing the intro music.
I'm telling you, the whole Wide Pride movement was in full effect. But, man, talking about that, I am attempting to step down from the Wide Pride presidency at metal detecting. I'm actually going to step back from that, too. Lost 48 pounds and I'm moving a little bit faster. I'm keeping up with Scott Duncan better now. So,
wow, that's congratulations. That's quite a bit. I guess I need to get on the ball, too. I need to lose a little bit myself. But I seen on one of your videos, I guess they were finding musket balls, and you were running around pretty dead blame good. And I was like, man,
Oh yeah, it's about like my old cop days, man. I was trucking across there and got to Scott when he said he had a button. Normally, I would have just kind of walked, quickly over there, but I broke out into a run.
You run fast enough that you lost stuff.
I know. So, I get a little excited sometimes. So.
Talking about live stream stuff, the hangout type stuff, that's what me and Jeff thought about doing to start with. And then we kind of backtracked on it. And I like the podcast because I like radio. And there are so many technical things that can happen on whenever you're going live video, live stream like that. Just watch those live streams. And almost every night you're going to see somebody have some kind of a problem, with a live stream. And not that we don't have problems here.
You're scaring me now.
Well, you take a podcast and then you multiply it by about 20.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, man. See, okay. All right. We may not have the live hangout. So it depends on the technical part of it. And the podcast we got where it was a lot. I mean, it really was. But we had a lot of fun doing it. Yeah.
And, everybody had a lot of fun listening to you guys. And, I hope that you are still going to travel with me and Jeff and Butch and the whole crew to some of these live shows. Ain't you, Jeff?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I hope he's there. And then I can't wait till what's the next show? Is it Chattanooga again?
I think so. It should be coming up this summer. And if you haven't planned to go to that show, we had a heck of a lot of fun. I mean, I can't tell you how much fun that remote was. And we may, if you guys will let us sit in with you, chit chat a little bit, talk on Relics Radio and maybe Relic Roundup, if you guys will make room for us.
Well, of course.
Yeah.
You're more than welcome.
Yeah, you are. And you were talking about that Chattanooga show. I got my calendar here, and I'll just look it up real quick. It is July the 27th. That's on a Saturday. And also Sunday the 28th. But we will do our live shows on July the 27th there in Chattanooga. And that was a ball. That was the first time that me and Jeff and you and Scott and we met Bill Hayes. We met Little Dirt Digger. We met a lot of people, didn't we, Jeff?
We sure did. And, I mean, forgive us if we don't mention your name, but we met so many people, it's kind of hard to keep up with everybody. But it was really a great time. And that was mine and Loy's first Relic show that we'd ever been to. Is that correct, Loy?
Yeah, that's the first one I ever been to. And it hooked me up real quick right there. And then, we had a lot of fun then when we went down to the South Carolina show as well, the Low Country show. That was a long drive, but it was a great show.
Yeah, it was a long drive, but I mean it was a great show. And then, of course, right there we met half redneck and Gail. So
that's the first time. Yeah,
that's the first time. Hunted on the beach there. That was pretty nice.
Yeah, and just had a good time with it. And there's something to be said about podcasts, live stream, whatever, doing those things live at those events. Don't you think, Heath?
Oh, yeah. Oh, I do, man. People always coming around there listening to the show. And we as we walked around when you guys were taking turns and stuff, people were actually listening on the other side on their phone if they couldn't be over there. So we had some people that saw they were playing it on the table from their phone. So I thought that was kind of cool while we were live on the other side of the building.
Yeah.
Yep, that is pretty cool.
It was.
And all the listeners that come by and talk to you, that's a whole lot of fun. So definitely, if you guys have never been to one of those Relic shows, let me just tell you, the Chattanooga show, that's the next one you want to be at. And plan right now. You got plenty of time. Plan to be there. It's going to be so much fun. And you'll find stuff, too, that you maybe hadn't been able to identify that you'll see on the tables, and somebody will be able to tell you what it is. And some people even take their relics with them that they've found to get identified there. It's even if you're not a collector, it's still a lot of fun for us detectorists.
it's the best of all worlds because we
really
talk,
is.
you know, if you've got a YouTube channel, people are watching your videos and they're commenting.
Mm-hmm.
If you've got a Facebook page, people are commenting. You get to put a face with a name, touch a hand, shake their hand and everything. And Shannon said, Emily said the dancing was the best part. Oh, and I'm sorry to say, guys, but we got to run into a commercial. We'll be right back, though. You know, T-shirts are a perfect way to get your brand recognized, whether you're talking about a business, a club, a sports team, your YouTube channel, or whatever. But you may have asked, where can I get quality, affordable shirts on demand? Well, I'm glad you asked. Relics Radio uses DetectTees.com for all of our T-shirts, long sleeve shirts, and hoodies. That's DetectTees.com. Ken and Mark Guthrie make quality shirts that last, they ship quick, and best of all, they're affordable. So if you need customized apparel, then go to DetectTees.com and be sure and tell them that Relics Radio sent you. Great bunch of guys over there, and I understand that Ken told you that we can give away, Relics Radio and History Seeker shirts tonight.
That's right. We're going to give away a couple History Seeker shirts and however many you guys want to give away, I guess. And I tell you, the ones from when anybody goes over to Detect Tees and buys a History Seeker shirt, we don't make anything off that. Mark and Ken donate our part of that, and I guess part of their part too, to MS research. So that's really nice of them. Goes to a good cause, helps people out, and you get a cool shirt.
Oh yeah, you do. And I didn't know we had a part. Of course, I guess they've been really good to us, though. They've given away a lot of shirts on our, and we're going to run another contest where people buy a Relics Radio shirt and send in, and probably give away a pinpointer or some real nice gift. But they are awesome shirts, and so we'll probably let them slide tonight on the Relics Radio. We'll give away a couple of History Seeker shirts here after a while. Hey, I was just noticing the chat, and I hate to stop the flow of the conversation and everything, but Dennis Gretencord is in the chat. Fill us in on all of that situation there, Jeff, because you're closer to it than I am.
Yeah, Dennis, he is released out of the hospital, and actually the doctor wanted him to stay another 7 days close to St. Thomas. So he was going to try to stay in Nashville, and with the NFL draft, and they had a Music City Marathon, and it was a few other things going on. There's no way they could have found a hotel in Nashville, so they have moved to my local town here in a little hotel, and fairly nice place, and they are there until Monday. His doctor's appointment is Monday, and he's hoping after his doctor's appointment he'll be able to leave there and just drive back home. So, but I talked to him yesterday, and he's feeling a lot better, but I mean he still has a long road to recovery. So,
yeah. And those of you
still in our prayers.
Yeah, those of you that don't know, Dennis came down to hunt with us. He was hunting with Jeff on that Sunday, and they were gonna hook up with me at the cavalry camp on Monday, and he had a heart attack on Sunday. So good to see you in there, Dennis. Great supporter of our show, always been a supporter of our show. And I came to the hospital Monday, and Jeff told me, I called him and I said, what room is he in? He said, well, they just released him. And then I was hoping that maybe I could get back to Gallatin, but then I had the American Digger show Monday night, so I couldn't do it. Hey, Heath, talk to us about the YouTube channel, because that's what you guys have gone to now that you're out of the podcast business.
Yeah, so we've always had a YouTube channel. We kind of rebranded it. It's youtube.com/history seekers, no spaces in there. And check us out. And we have a lot of fun. We, some of the crazy antics that we talked about on the air on the podcast, you can see kind of coming to life on film a little bit. So, and we're getting better. We just started out really getting serious about it the first of the year. We had, I don't know, about 1,500 subscribers to our new YouTube channel back in January, and now we're knocking on the door 7,000. We're just south of 7,000 right now. Hope to be at 10 by the end of the summer. That's our goal. I know that's kind of ambitious, but we're gonna try it. So, and we've had a lot of good supporters. A lot of the people that listen to the podcast have came over and subscribed, and I can't tell you guys how much that means to Scott and I. But it's a lot of fun. And, I work for Treasure Mountain, so they've been really good about supporting us. We're giving away an Equinox 800 when we get to 10,000 subscribers. And basically all you have to do to enter is comment on the video. Like every week we release a video, you comment on that video, and that's another entry. So, and then when we get to 10,000, if you've been a loyal viewer and commented, you have a little bit better chance of winning. So,
wow, that's Equinox 800.
Yeah, Equinox 800, free shipping to anybody in the U.S. Only caveat: if you are in Canada or Mexico or Australia, wherever you are, other than the U.S., international people would have to pay for shipping. That's the only caveat, just because it's so expensive to ship.
Yeah. Well, Heath Jones, tell us a little bit about Heath Jones. Tell us how you got started, for the ones that don't know, into treasure hunting, metal detecting, then going into your, did you start your YouTube channel first, or did you start the History Seekers podcast? And then just tell us a little bit about Mr. Heath Jones.
Oh, y'all got time for all this?
Oh, yeah,
complicated subject.
We've got 3 hours if we have to.
Oh boy, y'all get ready, buckle up. I'll try to make it quick, give you the Reader's Digest version best I can. Basically, I was bored one day, and I was, about 13, 14 years old, and I was pilfering around in my granddad's utility room where he keeps some of his tools and, the cool stuff that a 13, 14-year-old boy would find kind of cool. And I found this old White's metal detector. I mean, Jeff, this thing was older than Loy. Nah, not that old, but it was getting pretty. It was getting pretty old, Loy. I'm just saying. I mean, the thing didn't even have a meter on it.
Well, it's been good having you on tonight, Heath.
Yeah, I know, right? I know. But I mean, it was just this big blue box and didn't have a meter on it. I had no idea how to work the thing, and I opened it up, and luckily he had taken the batteries out, but I figured out it needed, I think it was double the big D-cell batteries. And I was like, oh man. And I had to cut grass. I can't remember, a week to literally save up the money and get somebody to take me to the grocery store or the local Dollar General or whatever it was back then, Bill's Dollar Store probably, and get D-cell batteries. And I got it back. I'll never forget that thing fired up, and it actually worked. And I took it out, and I found just a few wheat pennies and stuff like that. But it's stuff I literally have my very first finds in a medicine bottle in my gun cabinet to this very day. Still got them. So, and that's what started the journey. 92, maybe 91. I don't know. Very early 90s when I was a teenager. I can't do the math right now, but and so I just continued on. As I got older, I got into law enforcement, and I didn't do it as much, but when I had time on the weekends and off and needed to relax a little bit, that's what I did. So I kept on going, and then I decided to run for office. And I was still metal detecting some, and I really need to relieve some stress when I was doing that. Because if you've never been in politics, that's kind of brutal, guys. That's a blood sport right there. Like getting shot at in law enforcement thing like it ain't nothing. But so I took a break from law enforcement for a while, and I was ordering a detector one day, and Ed was like, and this is after I ended up losing the election. But Ed's like, why don't you start selling metal detectors? When he was asking if I was going back to law enforcement, I was like, I don't know. I've never sold anything in my life. I said the only sales experience I had prior to that was being an undercover drug dealer because I worked narcotics and in state law enforcement. And so he's like, well, you lived through it, so you must be okay. I said, well, I'll try it. And I did. And 5 years later, here I am. And it led into the podcast. I did a podcast with Butch on Relic Roundup and as a candidate, and it just kind of all rolled together. And next thing you know, I'm full time on Relic Roundup and selling metal detectors, and 5 years ride by, and here we are to ending our podcast and doing a YouTube channel.
Wow,
I think it's kind of the Reader's Digest version.
Yeah, that's pretty good. That's a pretty good story there. And then, of course, all the money we make on these podcasts, I was trying to get Lloyd to buy one of the GPRs and use this as a tax write-off or something. And of course, he just kind of looked at me funny, like, "Where do you think I'm getting the money from? It's coming out of my pocket."
Well, I figured with all that money, he'd buy 2 GPRs, one for you and one for him. But
that's a great idea.
Yeah,
I think he should do that.
Are you still on drugs, Heath?
Yeah, I'm wasting away to nothing.
That is right. I mean, you're on a low carb diet, aren't you?
I am, man. I'm doing that keto diet, and my friend Jeff Gibbs that does the metal detecting Alabama group, or North Alabama, sorry, and then also Scott Duncan, my digging partner. They drafted me onto keto because listen, guys, after I got out of law enforcement, I started blowing up. Even though I'm walking miles back in the woods, I mean, I really started packing on the pounds. And I looked, that picture that Miss Emily and her dad took of me and Butch dancing, I said, man, if I don't do something, I'm not going to be here very much longer. So, I thought I was the next candidate for a heart attack. I'll be honest with you. So I had to do something. I got on that keto, and it's actually been very easy, and I hadn't had the cravings. And if you're a big guy like I am, get out there, do something. Don't keep putting it off till tomorrow, because that's what I did too. You don't want to be out there in the woods dropping over of a heart attack. So drop those pounds.
My son-in-law is, he's on a low-carb diet. I don't know what they call it. Him and my daughter both are. And he's lost 45 pounds. And
oh, yeah.
He looked sick to me. I told him last night at church, I said, I could tell a visible difference in how much weight that he's lost. And I said, you don't look right. You need to go eat you something, boy. He said, are you talking about because my clothes don't fit anymore? I said, well, no, that wasn't really it. I said, you just don't look the same. But, kudos to everybody that does that, because it's not easy.
No,
it's really not. And he didn't have 45 pounds to lose, really. I mean, he was fairly fit himself, so. And that's why with Dennis, I mean, he's healthy. I mean, he's tall, slender guy. And then we just had a flat tire, and he just strained the wrong way or something like that, and that's what brought his heart attack on. So, yeah. But he looks as healthy as a lot healthier than I do.
Yeah.
Well, kudos to you though, there, Heath, because I need to do the same thing. I need to lose some. I'm still in pretty good shape to be 160 something years old, but
almost as old as that metal detector I found.
Yeah. Talking about metal detectors, I tell you what, whenever I first started, and I always think of it whenever somebody mentions your name, my first one was a Heath kit. And it was a thing that you had to put together, and I mean it was it was a beast. There ain't no doubt about it. All of them were beasts back in the day.
I saw one of those up at when I was in New Hampshire at the hunt a year or so ago, and that was the first one I'd ever seen. And Butch Holcomb brought it over there to show me. I'd heard about them, but I'd never seen one.
Yep, that was at the Bone Dig, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm. It was, yeah. Yep.
And that hunt was just this last week again.
Yeah, I don't know what all was found up there. Most of the stuff I found on private hunts while I was up there, which, by the way, I don't know if Swansea Searcher, I don't know if he's in the channel or not, tonight or not. But he got me one of the nicest. He put us on a spot that I dug one of the nicest large cents. It was an 1838 large cent, nicest one I've ever dug. Just absolutely beautiful, and I can't thank him enough. Those guys, him and Julio, Julio's up there in New Hampshire. Also, he put us on. And when I was with Julio, I dug a 1787 Connecticut copper while I was up there. So I am going on walkabout this year, guys, and we're going to hopefully do some more filming on the road. And I hope to get some more of those old colonial coins because I love them. I'm addicted to them now.
I know it. I am too. And for those of you that don't know, the Bone Hunt, BONE, stands for, I believe, either best of
Northeast.
Yeah, best of the Northeast. Hey, guys, let us take this commercial break, and we'll be right back. If your passion is metal detecting, then you know how much your success is based on the equipment you use. Let my buddy Tim Henderson of Murray Branch Outdoors in Murfreesboro, Tennessee, help you with that. Tim is an authorized dealer of Mine Lab, Garrett, XP Deus, and macro detectors and supplies, and also carries many aftermarket items. Murray Branch Outdoors is not only competitive in their prices, but the service after the sale is second to none. Tim not only sells detectors, he uses them, and so he can answer any question that you might have. Murray Branch Outdoors also deals in used detectors, and he'll take your old detector in on trade when you decide to upgrade. So give Tim Henderson of Murray Branch Outdoors a call at 615-948-4611 or visit his website at www.murraybranchoutdoors.com and be sure and tell him Relics Radio sent you. And by the way, guys, Murray Branch Outdoors and Nocta Macro together are going to be giving away an Amphibio this quarter for Relics Radio sometime between now and June. Keep watching the Relics Radio Facebook group page for the announcement on that. And Heath, you being a metal detecting dealer, why don't you talk a little bit about the Amphibio, what you know about it, what you've heard about it and everything?
It's very, very good machine. A lot of people actually have been asking about them, and it's a lot of people thought that it was multi-frequency. It's actually a single frequency, but it's got multiple frequencies you can choose from. So it kind of like the Deus without the price tag, I guess. But a lot of people are really going with that and liking it. And I've tried it too. It's a pretty nice machine. It's built very solid. It doesn't feel like it's going to break. So if you like, and some people like a really solid built machine, it's one definitely take a look at.
Heath, do you know the frequencies that they have?
Not off the top of my head, Jeff. I could look that up for you. That's one of the ones that I don't use as much, but it's got, I believe 14's one of them, or 15, and I think it goes on down to like 5.
Well, we've already got this one in our possession, but it's still in the box. And I'm waiting until me and Jeff and Tim Henderson and Ron to where we can all get together and do some testing with it, do some videoing and stuff like that with the machine that you will win on this. We're not going to tear it up, but we're going to try it out and have our thoughts and everything on it. And is it a deep machine? I mean, talk a little bit more about it.
Yeah, it's pretty deep. Like I say, I haven't done a lot of testing with the Amphibio, and I'm sorry, I blanked when he asked me that. It is 5, 14, and 20 that you can choose from. But yeah, it's a pretty deep machine, and a lot of relic hunters have been using it and trying it out. To fairly good success, my understanding. Like I say, I haven't actually went through the paces with that machine like probably I have some of the others, but it's definitely one that's gaining a lot of popularity. I can tell you that.
Yeah, I know Dwight with New Age Goonies. He's doing real well with it. So, and of course that's down there in Orlando in the sandy soil, but he found some pretty good silver coins the other day with it. So
yeah. The guy that does Hello World.
Darnell Williams.
Darnell uses one and does real well with it as well.
I've watched some of his videos just because he was talking about how he set his up. And prior to all of us getting together, I want to watch a lot of his stuff and some other things, because who better to watch than somebody that knows how to use the machine and everything.
Right. My love of choice has been the Equinox, guys, and y'all know this from back when I think I came on and talked on the show about the Equinox before, but we're still using it. That 800 is absolutely. I mean, well, if you've watched any of our videos, y'all seen we've been doing very, very well with that machine.
You have. Tell us a little bit about your what you've got going on with your channel, about the different series. I know you started out with the Andrew Jackson camps, and of course, that seems like it's going to be pretty good.
Oh, yeah. Well, first of all, a lot of our videos from about January through now is mostly old footage. Well, not all of it. A lot of the Civil War stuff was kind of, within the last couple years. But then we got on to a kick where we were doing the Spanish-American War, and we did a series on that where we found a Spanish-American War camp and detected it. And that war was really kind of forgotten about. People didn't know much. Most people don't even know about it unless you've studied history. But in 1898-99, we had the Spanish-American War. This is the one Teddy Roosevelt was with the Rough Riders, if anybody remembers those stories. So we had a lot of fun detecting those camps, and we found relics that were kind of looked like Civil War relics, but they were just post, and it's stuff. Some of the stuff you just don't see a lot, so it's very interesting. And we had a lot of good feedback. One of our videos on that Spanish-American War, by the way, has got like 163,000 views on it. So it was extremely popular, and we kind of pretty much hunted. I don't want to say we've hunted that camp out, but we had hunted it so much we were tired of seeing the place. Y'all, you ever get like that on a site when you just hunted every weekend?
Yeah, 44 woods.
Yeah, I mean, there's probably relics there, but you get to the point where it's just like, man, I just don't want to see this piece of ground anymore. So we swapped it up, and everybody does Civil War stuff, and we love Civil War stuff, but we thought, let's do something different. And we're fortunate enough to live in an area where Andrew Jackson came down through Alabama, and it was an extension of the War of 1812, essentially. They called it the Creek Indian Wars, and it was fought in 1813. But essentially what was going on, the British were kind of using the Native Americans as almost an insurgency. And the Americans, we believe that they were funding and giving them weapons and trying to destabilize the United States with the intention of maybe taking back over. So just a quick history lesson, the natives went into Fort Mims, which is down in South Alabama, and killed men, women, and children. I mean, just indiscriminately. And Andrew Jackson and the Tennessee Volunteers, where the football program got their name, got a bunch of militia, basically, volunteer militia. And with some military leaders like Andrew Jackson, Davy Crockett was in there, but I think he was more of a scout, and Sam Houston, people like that. And they marched down through Alabama, and they laid waste. I mean, it was a brutal conflict that essentially wrapped up for the most part in Horseshoe Bend, which is not far from us either. And basically it ended up with the Red Stick Creeks, which were the side that they were fighting, surrendering land. And, it led on to the Trail of Tears and stuff on years later. But so what we decided we would do is try to track down not just the battle sites, because those are kind of documented, and some of them, well, Horseshoe Bend's even protected. You can't hunt that if you wanted to. But we got to thinking, okay, they made all these miles down through Alabama, almost half the way through Alabama. They had to camp. I mean, and a lot of those camps were not written about, and some of them that were just not detailed real well, because, I mean, a lot of these creeks, I mean, it was Indian land, and they didn't have names, basically. So they were trekking across ground that, white men may not have ever been on before. So it made it a challenge to find these camps, and all we knew was where they were going and where they were coming from, and trying to figure the best way they went. And so far, we've gotten on a few, but it's been very sparse, but the relics that when we actually hit are really good. And so then the series has been very popular, I think, because of that.
Okay. I know they probably didn't keep very good maps back in there, did they?
Well, it's funny you should mention that. Coffee, which was one of Jackson's confidants and his one of his main guys, actually did a very detailed drawing, especially of Horseshoe Bend. You guys can find that map. I think the Library of Congress has that, and you probably find it floating around other places. Mm-hmm. But he had a bunch of papers. I think he made more maps than just that one. It doesn't stand to reason that he made that map and one other that I know about that was very detailed, but yet some of these other battles are not. So I think they're out there. I just don't have them. But as far as like how they traveled, yeah, I mean, the maps are kind of cool to a degree, but you can't really go by them because they may think they're on one creek and they may be 3 or 4 miles away on another creek. And we find that a lot, and especially looking for forts and stuff like that from that era. It even though it may say it's at the intersection of this creek and this river, it may be miles down the river.
Yeah, and that makes it real hard, I'm sure.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You put a lot of time in the woods not finding a thing's what happens.
But that's what it takes. I mean, it takes a lot of walking. It takes a lot of searching. It takes what research that you can do. But when you don't have the documentation, you don't have the maps, there's not anything left but to get on your feet and take a coil and swing it and everything. And those Tennessee volunteers eventually wound up at the Battle of the Alamo in 1836. I know Sam Houston was down there. And I've got an ancestor that was part of those Tennessee volunteers, Benjamin Rush Milam. And I didn't know that until I was probably, I don't know, I was a teenager, I guess. And the coordinator or what have you with the Alamo got a hold of us, and they had been doing genealogy and research and everything, and they showed us the family connection. And then years later, and this has probably been maybe 20 years ago, my brother went down and they dedicated a statue to Benjamin Rush Milam there at the Alamo. So I'd love to hunt that place because, I had an ancestor involved in that.
And now, correct me if I'm wrong, Lloyd, did you say that he was with them also in the 1813 when they came through Alabama?
Yes.
Because if so, he could have, he literally could have been one of the ones dropping some of these bullets and buttons that we've been finding. Yep. I mean, the odds are okay. I mean, it's not like some of the Civil War battles where you had just tens of thousands. I mean, you're talking 900 men in some engagements, 1,000, 1,500, 2,500 at the most. I don't think I've seen anything more than 2,500. So, the odds are 1 in 2,500. It might have not been his, but it might have been his buddies standing next to him. And when you think about that, that's really cool.
I know it. And just to go down there and find anything. And, the only way that you'd find anything and know that it, this belonged to Benjamin Rush Milam, something engraved, and you're not going to find that. So you're going to find a musket ball or something like that, and a flat button. And, I could say to myself, this was it could have been his, but it was with the men that he was with at this historical moment of time.
Mm-hmm. And we want to get you guys down to hunt with us too. Scott and I have been talking about that, and we've all had close ties even since we were doing our podcast, and you always helped us out, and I think it'd be a lot of fun to have both of our channels down there recording, and no telling what we'll get into.
I know.
Yeah, I think it would be fun. But I'd love to get off in that whale with the mag.
I ain't going in no well. I ain't going in no well. Hey guys, we're going to run another commercial, and when we come back, we're going to go ahead and open up the phone lines. We're not quite to our syndication point yet, but I'd like for Scott Duncan to call in because he's involved in all this. We probably should have included him, but that number is 270-495-0315, and Jeff has already put it in the chat, so we'll be right back taking your calls after this commercial. If you want to keep up with what's going on in the metal detecting world, then you need to be a subscriber to American Digger magazine. Butch and Anita Holcomb are the publishers of the magazine and have won awards for 3 straight years for being the best digger magazine on the market. American Digger magazine is available in both print and digital formats, so no matter where you live in the world, you can enjoy the latest happenings in the hobby. You can get in touch with American Digger magazine by going to americandigger.com or give them a call at 770-362-8671. And be sure and tell them that you heard it on Relics Radio. And as most of you know, I am now part of the crew at the American Digger Relic Roundup on Monday night with Butch Holcomb, the legend, and Jeff Lupert. And I kind of filled in some big shoes whenever Heath left that place. And by the way, DJ Dowling will be our guest this next Monday night. And what we're trying to do is, as much as we can, feature some of the writers or things that the writers of the magazine have written about on those Monday night shows. So DJ Dowling has an article in this last issue that came out, not the current one that's coming out, but this last one. So we'll be talking about that. It's a great magazine, though, isn't it, Heath?
Oh, man, I love it, I tell you. And I don't know, I was talking about our video that was 160 some odd thousand view video. We talk about an article that's going to be in that. I don't know if it made this one or not. I haven't got my copy yet. It's either going to be in this one or the next one. So be sure to check that out, talking about that ID badge that we found at that Span Am camp.
I remember that, and you texted me and sent me pictures. And Vic Tucker today, I'm out in the field hunting, and he sends me a picture of a Confederate staff officer's droop wing button. He said, "What do you think about this?" And just ruined my day.
I don't want to talk to you right
just
now.
ruined my day. I tell you, I just had to put the detector up, get back on the mower, and mow some more. And dadgum, that Vic Tucker do something like that. But I tell you, I love that, that you guys share those things. And there's just so much excitement whenever you pull a relic out of the ground, and it's something that you've never found. It's something that has a lot of history with it. And, it just never gets old.
No, it doesn't. If you guys watched that last video, I was running around and I wasn't swinging from any trees like KG, but I was not far from it.
And losing stuff along the way.
I was, yeah. There's probably some relics out there. There was some relics out there, I'm sure. So,
hey guys, the phone lines are open. I don't care who calls in. Somebody call in because that's the only
somebody
way.
Win a shirt.
That's right. That's the only way that you're going to win a shirt. A History Seeker shirt tonight. We're going to give 2 of them away. Rick Ward said, "I've got it on speed dial." Well, speed it up there, Rick. Go ahead and call in and talk to Heath.
Hey, I know Rick likes to talk because I talk to him on the phone from time to time. Him and my buddy Craig Atwater. I see Craig's listening tonight too.
Yeah. He's been on here quite a while. He's a good listener.
I talk to Craig about once a week, at least once a week. Good folks. So,
and Rick is in. What's going on tonight, Rick?
How's it going, Rick?
How are you guys doing?
Same as we was last week.
Well, I figured you weren't going to answer the phone. You were going, "Oh, Rick's calling in. We're not answering."
No, we don't. We don't get. We don't cull them here on this show. I'll just tell you that.
I know. Well, thank the Lord for that, So I did want to congratulate Heath. I've been cheering him on since he got on that keto diet. So I'm super excited about your weight loss, and I know how much dedication that takes. And so with that being said, just wanted to remind you that I'm going to be up there in your hometown in 2 weeks. So,
oh yeah.
Yeah, so
I hope I'm not in Iowa.
Well, I hope you're not either, because I'm just going to go walk around town swinging a metal detector, and everybody will just go, "Well, that's one of those guys."
Yeah,
but just tell him Heath Jones give you permission. He
said it was okay.
Yeah,
yeah. Well, that's what I'd planned on doing, but sure enough, man, if you're not in Iowa, we definitely need to get together and do some filming. And I came in late and I caught the tail end of you talking about filming and film quality, but I wanted to ask you, how are you liking that brand new camera, and would you recommend it to just about anybody that, makes YouTube videos?
Let me answer that with yes. Yeah, man, that's a great question. I'm glad you asked that. We have recently, this last video is the first video that we had with exclusive, because sometimes we shoot weeks in advance, by the way, at least 2 weeks sometime in advance. But this past episode that we released was the first one that was shot exclusively 100% with the new cameras. And now we have 3 of those cameras. We have 3 of the Hero 7 or GoPro Hero 7 Blacks. And the image stabilization is absolutely amazing. I don't care how big you are, when you run, it can make it look good. So I highly recommend them. Highly recommend them. Don't get the lesser version. Get the black, because it has that, they call it hyper smooth. And so, if you start moving and even detecting, just, because you're going to be moving around, it cuts out a lot of that jitter that that kind of makes people sick of their stomach from motion sickness. Yeah. Highly recommend. And the quality is really good.
Well, Craig Atwater and I have been talking back and forth about every day this last 2 weeks about whether we ought to buy those or not. And so it's kind of like we're saving our clad to get one. So I got to go hit a couple more parts before I buy one, but that's kind of what I'm doing.
I was fixing to say, you're finding more clad than I am if you're going to buy one of those.
What is the price of them anyway? I've never really looked at them.
Yeah, $3.99, I think.
Yeah.
Well, you can find them on sale for $3.50.
Yeah, Amazon's got some pretty good bundles, but the battery life, you need to buy extra batteries. And when I hunted with Bo a couple weeks ago, that was his biggest complaint, was the battery. I mean, you get about an hour's worth of filming out of a battery.
Yes, absolutely. And I've got links in some of our videos to the Amazon directly, where you can go to the cameras that we're using. Just look down in the description, click that, and we make a couple dollars whenever you do that, and we put every bit of that money back into the channel to get better and film better and stuff.
Well, then I'll just go through your links to do that kind of stuff. And also, I don't know if I'd win a T-shirt or not, but I want to forego that and just say my wife has MS, so I'm going to go to the website and buy a History Seekers shirt, because that money goes to MS. Well, it's money well spent, because my wife has battled MS for about 18 years. So,
bless her heart.
I'm off.
Yeah, it's really tough. I've seen it do some bad things, but that's be praying for it.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm going to get off here. I just wanted to call and just bug you. So, but I am I am truly proud of your weight loss, because that is a huge deal to be, to work towards that and give up those things that the everyday things that we like to eat and drink, and to forego that stuff is really. That's a challenge in itself. So anyway, you guys have a great show. And
hey, Rick, I'm gonna get with you and Greg. We're gonna all get together over there in East Tennessee. In fact, I was looking at motel rooms today, and I'm gonna have to push it out probably 2 or 3 weeks. But I'm fixing to holler at you guys and see if we can all get together.
Absolutely. I would love to hunt with you, Loy. And also, I'll probably wind up talking guitar playing more than anything. But, yeah, I definitely want to get up there. And I'm going to try to go, being a rodeo announcer, I'm gone just about every weekend. So I do have that weekend off for the Chattanooga show. So I've already put it on the calendar, and I'm not booking anything that weekend. And I've informed my family that I will be in Chattanooga. So if I don't get to see you at, earlier than that, I will definitely go up and handshake everybody that, when we go to that show.
Well, I'll tell you what we need to do. We need to try to get a Friday hunt together on that before the show.
Okay.
And, but we'll talk about that. I know you're going to call back in, so we'll talk about that between now and then.
Absolutely. Well, I do have some permissions in Ringgold and in Rome. So that would really be pretty cool for us to just jump. I mean, we're talking like maybe 30 minutes from downtown Chattanooga. So we got you covered on that.
Sounds good, don't it, Jeff?
It sounds real good. I can't wait.
Yep.
Sounds good to me.
I'm excited about it. Yeah. Let's all go, man.
So
there ain't too many for the picnic.
Okay. All right. Thanks for the call, Rick.
Yep.
Yeah, buddy.
And the phone lines are still open. Rick didn't take a shirt, and kudos to him. He's going to buy one. But we'll take two more calls, and we'll take more than that if we can get them. But where did we leave off talking there a while ago, guys?
Oh, I don't know. We were talking about the series, I guess, the Andrew Jackson.
Yeah, the Andrew Jackson. Yep.
So we're hunting the Andrew Jackson stuff, and we've got something we're going to do. We're not going to do it every week on History Seekers. We're kind of mixing it up, but we've got an idea. I think we're going to go, and this is a spoiler, so you guys are going to get some inside information into people who are listening tonight. So a little inside information. I think we're going to look at. We've been finding stuff on the camp side on the Andrew Jackson troops. But I think we may swap over and look at the opposing forces and maybe try to dig some of their camps as well, just to mix it up a little bit. Something we haven't done a lot of the native side of things. So we're going to mix that in as well. See how people respond to it. Guys, with YouTube, it's a constant evolving, testing different things and seeing what your audience likes and getting the feedback. And if they hate it, they'll tell you, I promise.
Yeah. Hey, we've got another call in. The last four numbers are 3120. Who have we got?
Brent Parrish.
Hey, Brent.
Hey, Brent.
Hey, how are y'all?
We are good. What is your question for Heath?
Well, I've talked to Heath quite a bit. I've bought quite a bit of stuff from him, too. And I just wanted to talk to y'all about I know he pushes the Equinox, and I bought one from him, and I didn't have any luck with it. And I'm an E-Track user, but I didn't have any luck with it. And I just wondered maybe if I was doing something wrong, I ended up selling it.
Yeah. It really depends on the soil there. And I tell everybody, there is no one perfect detector for every situation. So what works well for us here in this red clay may not work well out west in the dry soil, or vice versa. Like the V3i, a lot of people have had very good success with the V3i, and I really wanted that machine to work for me here. I just couldn't ever get anything here with the V3i. So it really, it's one of those hard things that just because everybody's saying, "Oh, this machine's great," don't always, It may be different in your soil. The other thing, depth-wise, with that machine, and with any machine really, but when you start adding a lot of discrimination, that's the one thing that hurts depth that I tell everybody the most. When the more discrimination you add in with any machine, the more you're going to start cutting into the depth. And some machines is more affected by it than others. Outside of that, and I know we talked about that. That's the only thing I could think of.
Did you, Brent? Did you have the 800 or 600?
No, I had the 600, and that was fixing to be what I was going to say. Was maybe I should have got the 800 so I could turn those tones off that I don't want to hear.
Yeah, now that's the other thing. I mean, the 600's really good if you don't mind listening to everything. But I mean, performance-wise, it's really good. There are some advantages to the 800. Some people think it's worth it. Some people don't. It really depends. Most entry level and even intermediate people, if they don't go every weekend, just hardcore, a lot of time the 600 is going to be enough for them. But then us few, and I think you fall in this category too, Brent. It just want the every little bell and whistle we can possibly have to tweak, and so yeah. But next time you come through, and I know you come through this way sometime, stop in and just try the 800 here in the red clay, and just see what you think.
Okay. Well, I'm going to Nebraska. I'm leaving Tuesday. And I'm going to Nebraska. I got a friend up there that's got some old ghost towns located for us. They're cornfields now. And we went last year, and I found, a couple of barber, a quarter and then a dime. And he found a saloon where the old saloon was that we found a bottle opener, and it was really cool. So we're looking forward to that. But I'm taking my E-Track, and because I trust it, and I don't trust anything else right now.
Well, when you got a lot of time on the machine, it's just hard not to. And I mean, and you're right. Once you click with the machine, and that E-Track's one of those that when you finally click with it, I mean, it's a fairly effective machine, even though it's a few years older.
Yeah, I wish they would do some updates to it. Make it where it had a USB charger and wireless headphones, which I got the Z-Link, but that's still not the greatest thing in the world. I'm glad you said something about that, and I don't know the information. I don't know any information to say for sure, but there are rumors floating around, guys. This weekend, their Mind Lab is having a partner conference in Italy, which I had a free trip there to go to it, but I ended up not taking it for some other reasons. But I wish I had now. But rumor has it. This is just a rumor that they are going to announce something this weekend. Now, I don't know if they're going to announce it to the public or if it's the dealers or if it's just a rumor. So there may not be anything to it, but keep your ear to the ground. I mean, there may be something floating around. And I don't know if I did. If I wasn't under NDA, I would tell you. Well, yeah, but I really don't know anything. Nobody's told me any inside information on it, but there is a strong rumor that something's going to be announced sometime very soon with Mind Lab. So keep your eye on that partner conference. Okay.
I wish I was there.
Well, I just, I like to watch all y'all's videos. I especially, like yours, Lloyd. Those are pretty cool. I've never found any bullets like y'all do. I want to. I even talked to Heath about maybe coming down there and, paying y'all to guide me, as a guide.
Hey, you ain't got to pay us.
Really enjoy that.
No. Right. Don't pay here, bro.
If you can get down here, we'll take you. We won't guarantee anything. It's relic hunting and not always relic finding, but good chance that we'll get you on something other. Hey, Brent, you've won a History Seekers T-shirt tonight. Go to the Relics Radio Facebook group page and send us a message with your address and your shirt size, and we'll get that over to Ken and Mark Guthrie of Detectives, and they normally send those shirts out on Monday. So get in touch with us there, okay?
Okay, I really appreciate it. I'm just going to say that I live about 100 miles from Amarillo, which is where Darnell is at.
Oh, okay.
I've been up there hunting quite a bit, too.
Yeah. Well, I was born in Lubbock.
Quite a bit of stuff in Amarillo.
Yeah.
Oh, were you really?
Yeah.
Well, you know where Clovis, New Mexico is then.
Oh, man, yeah. I spent a lot of time in Clovis. There was a recording studio over in Clovis that I spent time at.
Yes, sir.
Yep.
Yes, sir. I'll be dang.
Yeah.
Small world.
Yeah, it is a small world. Anyway, thanks for the call tonight, and we've got Mr. Scott Duncan on the line. What's going on, Scott?
Hey, guys. How you doing?
Hello, Scott.
How you doing?
You can tell those
Bullet Freak.
You can tell those Bullet Master. You can tell those old radio guys. They have that really good sound that comes in.
Hey, I got the equipment. I might as well use it.
About the time that y'all decided to drop your podcast, those of you that are listening to the show and those of you in the chat, you always don't know everything that we know. And Scott said, "Dadgum, I just bought a brand new microphone too."
Oh, it's worse than that. My wife bought the microphone for me, so I stopped using it right after she bought it.
Are y'all
Is it for sale?
Is that what's that?
I said, is it for sale?
Oh no. Well, I'm gonna have her do some voiceover work for me for the channel and for her channel and stuff like that. So
okay.
Yeah,
it's a good one.
If you're getting into YouTube, guys, even if you're not going to podcast, get one of these studio mics. You're going to need it.
Yes, you are. And that was a question that I was going to ask you and Scott both. On these new GoPros, what is the audio like on those?
Better, but still lacking.
Yeah, it's pretty decent it's pretty decent as compared to previous models or the Sessions. They'll get by, but ideally you have an external sound source, an external microphone.
And I'll let everybody in on a little secret. Whenever I use my GoPro, and Jeff knows this because he's been live with us in the field when we do it, I will say break, 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 and I'm recording on my phone with a lapel mic, and I'm recording with the GoPro. And then I bring both of those into my editing software, and I take the video off the GoPro and I take the audio off of the phone, and I can line up those breaks. That's why I say break, or you can clap 3 times, and it gives you a high peak there, and you can put those together. But I'm a big audio person, and that's one thing I never liked about a GoPro is they just don't have the audio.
Well, one of the things that we're looking at, and like I say, our money that we make, what little bit it is very little, but we roll it back into the channel. Eventually, our goal is to have the wireless transmitters. That's a goal for us. So that like they do with the TV shows where they put this little wireless transmitter in the small of the back and run the lapel mic,
right,
and it transmit back to the camera. Well, there is some equipment that you can get. It's not all that expensive, but it'll plug into the camera and you can actually run in external audio. So it will sound a lot better. I guess the thing you're giving up is the compact easeability of being able to use the thing in the woods. So we're back to almost needing a cameraman again.
Yeah, and the cameraman has a hard life in the field, doesn't he, Heath?
Yes, he does.
When are you going to turn that over to Scott?
I just want you to know. that camera work gets harder and harder the closer to 95 and 100 degrees it gets.
That's the truth too.
Yeah, thanks for reminding me.
Everybody, you don't even want to drag that thing out of the pouch whenever it's 95 degrees. You're about crawling through the woods in the first place.
Yeah. Everybody that watches our channel, or a lot of people, they'll tease me a little bit about, well, Scott's doing most of the finding. I'm like, yeah, I'm doing most of the recording. So I'm running from hole to hole, but we're getting more cameras now, so it's a lot easier.
That's why you're losing so much weight.
That's exactly right. I think that may have something to do with it.
Scott's doing all the finding, you're doing all the running.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to help them out.
That's a good trade-off, isn't it, Scott?
It is. I'll take that every day.
Hey, we hadn't got your point of view and everything on these camps. Why don't you give us your side of it as well? What y'all are finding and research and everything in the finds.
Yeah, and where they're at.
Yeah, and the GPS coordinates.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what. In the history books, and even in history class in Alabama, because I grew up here in Alabama, they really kind of gloss over the Creek Wars and Andrew Jackson's path through Alabama. They mention it, but they move right from Revolution to Civil War, and then they skip over the Spanish-American War, go straight to World War I, and it's very, very high level. These Jackson camps, as he moved through Alabama, are extraordinarily hard to find because the farther back you get, the worse the maps were. They just have general ideas of where the creeks were and where the camps were, as compared to the creeks and that sort of thing. But when you get on it, I mean, I know a lot of our friends in the Northeast, we had one or two comments saying, oh, big deal, they found a couple of flat buttons and some round balls and stuff like that. We find those every single day. You don't in Alabama. If you get on a spot that has multiple flat buttons and fired round balls, you were on something unusual down here. And for us, it goes from silent woods to finding those things, and that you're on the path where he was, where he got into a skirmish with creeks, where they camped for the night. It goes on and on from there.
Man, that sounds good. Tell us about some of the relics you find.
Well, I'll tell you what. I'm gonna just stir this pot right away. And Heath, I don't know if you mentioned it early in the show. I didn't catch earlier in the show, but I'm gonna post it on Facebook and cause a firestorm. But I found something that is almost mythical. Did you cover this, Heath?
No, I haven't. I hadn't mentioned it. I was waiting on you.
All right. Well, I found a pewter round ball. I've actually found 2 pewter round balls.
They hadn't seen the other one. Only one videos came out so far.
That's right. So, it has been widely debated in the metal detecting circles. A lot of people swear that they don't exist. There's that famous episode about the diggers where the Revolutionary War soldiers, the colonists had to melt down pewter silverware to make because they ran out of ammunition, and a lot of people thought that wasn't real. I found pewter round balls in and amongst the lead round balls, and I mean, you pick them up and they crumble in your hand. I managed to stabilize them, and so I've got both of them, but there is no doubt 100% they're pewter round balls.
I think,
Scott,
absolutely they are.
I've found several of pewter round balls at these colonial sites. We had these colonial sites. They're the Bledsoes. They're out of Virginia, and when they come here in the 1780s, of course, they was attacked by Indians, and I have found pewter round balls there.
Yeah.
I found them in my area, too, and I was trying to remember how many I've got, and they don't crumble in my hand, but that they're pewter the way they look, because you know how pewter does. It does kind of crumble away and everything. Yeah. But I think I've got 4, and all 4 of those came from colonial sites. So I'm a believer that they got to the point that they had to melt down pewter in order to make bullets, because bullets were more important than a spoon or whatever the pewter was to begin with.
Right, and I'll tell you, we have a theory, at least on these sites that we're at, that these could have belonged to the Native Americans, that they could have been just melting down whatever they had for their firearms, because at that point they had firearms as well through trading.
Mm-hmm.
That is true. There is. We've got 2 schools of thought. It's either Native American, or there is a theory where, because the troops, as they moved further and further away from their supply line, their supply forts, the troops were actually almost starving to death. And I can't help but think, and there's no accounts of this, okay? But if they're almost starving to death, I'm sitting here thinking, well, they've got to be running low on bullets too, and it makes you wonder if they may have been melting them down. Now we have nothing. We have nothing to prove that. It's conjecture. But we do know they were almost starving.
Yeah, and all we know is that those are absolutely pewter round balls. And whenever we release the next video that's on the Jackson stuff, we'll probably post a picture and stir it up on the forums, because I know or on Facebook, because I know there'll be some controversy over that. There's a lot of people that don't believe it, but it's true.
Well, I mean, Tennessee Jeff, I mean, you can send them to me or send them to Loy, I mean, whoever. They were pewter round balls.
And I'll tell you something else. In my episode 157, I've got a history clip on pewter, and I address that subject in that history clip. I may need to send that to you guys so that you can look at that and reference it or something, and take advantage of what research that I've done on it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we'd like to if you would let us use that. We may actually reference that in. But yeah, so apparently they're rare, and other people have found them. But you'll get a lot of pushback on some of the forums. And frankly, I'd never seen one until we dug these. These are the first one I'd ever seen.
I'll tell you one thing: Butch Holcomb didn't blink an eye whenever we mentioned that we found one.
Well, anybody that's done any. Like Jeff said, any colonial relic hunting, that pewter was something that was very common back in the day. In fact, they home poured their pewter buttons. They would have molds and everything, and so why not use that for bullets if they're running low on lead? Now, I can't imagine that a pewter bullet is going to be as effective because it won't weigh what a lead bullet will, but it'll do in a pinch.
Yeah, I'd read a story. Of course, there was a fort down the road from here. It was called Ziegler's Fort. It was burnt down in 1792, and a group of Indians, and I cannot remember the chief's name, but anyway, they attacked that fort early in the morning, and it was telling about the records from the people that survived, said that they were running out of ammunition and running out of everything else, and they just melted down what they had to use as projectiles. And, I mean, of course, you had the old, what were they called, punt guns, the one with the big end on them. A lot of them, they used them on stagecoaches. They would load them full of forks, knives, just whatever they could put in them.
Kind of an early shotgun type of weapon.
Yeah. So, I mean.
Well, I'll tell you, there's no bigger thrill than pulling a flat button, ordinary, what would be for other people, garden variety flat button out of the ground, and knowing that you're holding a button that came off of a Tennessee Volunteers coat or shirt.
That would be a sight I would die to hunt. I mean, that sounds like a great sight.
And I don't know if you were listening a while ago, Scott, or not, but I've got an ancestor, Benjamin Rush Milam, that was part of that Tennessee Volunteers. Now, he later went with Sam Houston and them to the Alamo and died in the Alamo. But so I want to come down there and hunt that because it has a close family tie to me. Now, to say what I found would have been his, I couldn't do that, but unless I found something inscribed, which I'm not going to do. But at least I want to find something out of the ground, a flat button or a musket ball or something, and say this was the group of men that he was with.
Well, here's the deal. Okay, so I kind of put this in perspective for with Heath on a call the other day when we were just chatting. I was mentioning that any one of those buttons I found could have come off Davy Crockett's coat or shirt, and he was like, "Yeah, it could," and I'm like, "Well, no, think about this." I said, there's varying reports on how many troops they took with them, anywhere from 900 to 2,000 or something like that.
Yeah,
so there's a 2,500 or something.
Yeah, most I've seen is 25, I think.
At worst case, a 1 in 2,500 chance it was a button from Davy Crockett.
That's right. I mean, you never know.
Yeah, and it's just that possibility, and those guys were militia, and they wouldn't have regular army stuff, so they would be wearing flat buttons and things like that. They wouldn't have military buttons.
That's right. Yeah. Now there were a handful of regulars out there. We haven't been lucky enough to find a regulars button yet. I hope we do at some point. But
well, you've probably got about a 5 or 6 in 2,500 chance of finding that because there weren't many.
Right. Very, very few. Mostly officers, lieutenants, colonels, stuff like that. But, that brings us to another point, Scott. You're talking about the militia. The standardized bullets were the 69 caliber that the regular soldiers were finding. And we have found some of those at these different sites. But when we first started hunting this type of stuff, we were finding smaller, like 36 caliber, 45 caliber, 50 caliber round balls, 58 caliber round balls. And we, to begin with, we kind of questioned that. But the more we got to researching those Tennessee rifles and Kentucky rifles, some of them varied in range from 36 all the way up to 58 caliber. So we're finding a whole wide range of caliber rifle or muskets, I should say, musket balls.
And they just brought whatever they had from home. There wasn't anything issued. They brought their own horse and everything,
Yeah, and our good friend J.J. Holt, he found, of course, the trigger guard from the Kentucky rifle. Right. So, that was probably the best find that's come out of there so far.
That we did find a brass, what we believe is an arrowhead. Also.
Oh yeah, that's pretty big too.
Oh man.
Yeah. That is a good one.
That is and
you don't see those every day, do you?
No, that would be that would be the right period, what they call the Mississippian period of Indians. They were using copper and brass and what have you, to make the arrowheads and also ornaments and stuff, that they wore as well. So any brass or copper that you find could be something associated with that, even if you can't identify what it was.
Well, this one was found. It looked like it hit something not too hard, but it kind of just was, I don't know, wavy looking. And Scott wasn't with us that day. It was Justin Emmons. He's actually a Kentucky guy. He was down here hunting with us. He's the one that found that. But the area that he found that in was definitely 100%. We know that was where they camped. And we think that's probably where some of the wounded were. And I just conjecture again, I can't help but think that might not be pulled out of somebody,
See, that's so cool. If you could piece parts of the camp and then say if that was the actual spot where the wounded laid or whatever, and then, man, wouldn't that be cool if you could prove that for 100%?
Well, we've got some ideas on that, but that's down the road later in a later video on History.
Yes, stay tuned.
Stay tuned.
And we're in a small niche on YouTube as far as metal detecting goes, and the rest of what the world is doing. But then, you'll have the Cohen hunters, you'll have the colonial hunters, you'll have the Civil War relic hunters. But y'all have got a special niche in that is really small, and there's not a lot of people doing this kind of hunting on these kind of camps.
Yeah, and Scott and I have talked, though, Loy. I don't know how long, because a lot of what they were firing is round balls. And the thing with Civil War, well, you got three ringers, you've got Williams cleaners, you've got so many varieties. At some point, we've got to decide, okay, how many round balls is enough round balls? But what we're hoping is to find more of the buttons and the stuff that's even cooler than round balls.
I've got a slush pile on my computer full of round balls because I'm like you. How many round balls can you actually show and people still keep watching,
Exactly.
Right. So we're almost up against it in terms of having to well, we still want to hunt that side, obviously, and follow that trail, but we've got to get onto some brass and more interesting objects, or we're going to have to start mixing it up and going and doing some other stuff. We were on that really good, very interesting Spanish-American War site for a while. That site just gave incredible variety of types of things. I actually have an article coming out in this issue of American Digger magazine about the ID tag that I found in that. But it was just, that site was just a treasure trove for YouTube videos. And we're very, conscientious and aware of how repetitive round balls can be on these latest videos as we're trying to chase down this Jackson stuff.
Yeah. Well, what kind of iron relics are you pulling out of these camps?
Not a lot, really, honestly. Surprisingly, we found some stuff we just don't know what is.
Yeah, and a few horseshoes, but with horseshoes, you never know whether it belonged to them or whether it was, belonged to somebody else. So,
no hammers and gun parts yet that we can say for sure.
None of that exciting stuff.
Axe heads or anything like that.
Oh well, I got that axe. I'm glad you said that. I almost forgot. I got that hatchet because they had to cut their way through here. By the way, guys, they didn't have roads, so. That's one of the things. We did find a hatchet, which we believe dates to that period, or as closely as we can. We think it dates to that period. You can't ever say with stuff like iron always exactly. And then that thing that I found that was like 2 foot deep that they think is maybe a tent stake, and that came from where that metal arrowhead came from. That we know 100% was a camp. So we found a few iron relics.
And by the way, I've found, along the same trails through Alabama, I found a patch box, but that was been a couple of years ago. It's not on any of the videos.
That's right. Yeah.
But a patch box cover and it actually has the manufacturer on it from somewhere up in Pennsylvania.
Man,
that's
cool.
Actually what sparked our interest too in doing this series again was Scott's old find. We were talking about that patch box, and I'm like, because it was an area that nobody really thought they thought Jackson went another way. But now our research is showing he went the way Scott's patch box came from, and that hatchet came literally feet from where that patch box came from. So
that's right.
It really just directed our investigation, if you will, a whole different direction and miles away from traditional thinking on where the path was.
Well, that is interesting. I mean, it's funny how you find one thing and it leads to another thing, and all of a sudden this map that we've got is wrong. Actually, the camp is here, and so you could change history.
Yes, you can.
It's exactly right. And that's, I think, at some point, and we're mapping this stuff and logging. We've taken some heat, not much, but occasionally an archaeologist will come on there on our chat or on our comments and say something about that. But we are logging these, so these are not going to be lost to history and die with us. We're making notes of where we're finding this stuff. And if you guys are out there, if you're doing something similar, maybe it's a different period, log your locations, log your finds and where they're coming from. I think that's very important.
I do that on the Civil War camp here. I GPS marked everything and then wrote down what they are. And on this cavalry camp that I'm working now, I'm putting flags out, and I will go back and GPS mark every one of those and put them down. And I'm not going to give them out until I die, and then somebody can give them out because I don't want people.
I can see it now.
You'll have
Google
bottom
Earth.
Feeders.
Yeah, that's right. Google Earth is going to go over with the satellite and start taking pictures, and then see in Tompkinsville, Kentucky, all these red flags in this field, and go, "What's going on?"
No,
here?
they're yellow. They're yellow. The landowner pulled back there the day before yesterday, and he said, "You're putting in a golf course?" And was laughing about it. I mean, he's really cool about it. Hey, Scott, by the way, your article coming out in American Digger Magazine, we are having on Monday night guests of people that have written articles, so we'll be reaching out to you in the near future to have you on Monday night to talk about that article with the legend Butch Holcomb and Jeff Lupert,
the founder of Wide Pride.
Yes.
And he's not slowing down.
And the only surviving purveyor of Wide Pride. He's going to Texas this weekend. Tried to get me to go with him and go out there and do a live show. And here's how he said it now, Heath, I'm working for him, and doing all this for him. And so he calls me and said, let's go out to Texas. Go out there to Texas with me. We'll do a live show. We'll split the gas, he said.
Oh, yeah. Let me tell you.
No, I know.
It's an adventure going on a long road trip with Butch. You'll hear all kinds of stories.
And almost get put in jail at the motel room over no hot water.
That is true. That is true. And if you guys want to see an adventure, our very first episodes when we started giving them episode numbers that we released in January, that was the trip to Virginia with Butch. And I cut out some of it, but there are some very comical moments in there.
In hindsight, the whole conflict with the hotel manager over the hot water, I kind of wish I'd have videoed that because that would have been YouTube gold.
That would be viral. You would have made, because everybody likes a redneck that is making a scene, and I can just see Butch with no hot water. He's hunted all day. He's tired. He's dirty. He wants a bath. And for anybody to tell Butch, we ain't got no hot water.
I won't go into the full details because the political correctness may run afoul. However, I will say that Scott Duncan, I was still up in the room and Scott was down there with him, and I get this frantic phone call from Scott and it says, "You may want to come down here." I said, Okay, well, I'll be down there in a minute. He says, no, come down here now. I was like, oh, okay.
And the guy was just, I mean, it wasn't on Butch. That guy was being very difficult and rude. So over a problem with, that he should have been all over and apologizing about. So.
Yeah.
Did he get hot water?
Yeah, we're talking about the difficulties traveling relic hunting, guys. If people that don't know the insides of this story, we had went to Virginia, didn't have hot water, dirty. Yeah, Butch Holcomb was not happy,
and red dirt to beat all that. It's something that you have to have a bath. I mean, you can't get in a bed, with red dirt all over you.
Oh yeah,
and that should have been on his mind anyway. Yeah, that's a whole nother side to this. Unfortunately, we can't film all those behind closed door stuff that goes on.
It's probably a good thing.
Yeah, when we travel, I did shoot something in the motel room. On this last hunt, we had adjoining rooms with me and Jeff was in one room, and Tim and Ron was in the other one, and I went through and was filming, and Jeff was all rolled up in the bed. I guess he was asleep probably, and I thought, I ain't going to put that on YouTube for everybody to see. That'd make me mad, if somebody else did that. But hey, guys, we've got your Facebook group, and your YouTube channel. All of the links in the description on this show here tonight. So want to challenge everybody that if you have not gone over and subscribed to the History Seekers on YouTube, go and do that, because these guys have some amazing stuff that they do. And you know them better than you know us, I guess, because they've been around longer than we have. But go over there and help them out. And we didn't get another caller in, and I sent Jeff a message. My suggestion is that we give that other shirt away to Dennis Grettencourt. What do you think, Jeff?
I think that'd be a good thing to do. I sure do.
And I'll just let you
concur.
I'll just let you get the information on that, and because he's become a redneck down here with us, not by choice, come down to hunt and got hung up here. But Dennis,
bless his heart, 2 weeks in Tennessee. I mean, not even planning on it.
And he's in and around Nashville, and it's the NBA draft, or the NFL draft, excuse me. Mm-hmm. And people are trying to legitimately be draft dodgers down there in the traffic tonight, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure they are. There's no way that I would want to be down there right now. And, of course, I'm sure I've heard of stories. People are like, yeah, let's go. And then, no, I believe I'll stay right here in Castaic Springs.
But anyway, you guys, best of luck to you. And Heath, you and Scott, I'll let y'all give your parting comments, and then I'll turn it over to Jeff, and we'll close this thing out.
Yeah, I just want to thank everybody that supported us so long on the podcast. Thank everybody that's made the switch over to YouTube with us. Stay with us. We appreciate it. Don't forget to check out, subscribe, hit the bell icon, and comment after you finish watching every video. You don't want to miss maybe winning an Equinox 800. Scott?
Yeah, I just want to thank you for having us on, and it's kind of like a throwback to, I mean, it's bringing me back. You know what I'm saying? I'm loving using my new mic that Heath, I wasn't able to use because Heath pulled the plug. But or we transitioned, I should say. But I'm just watch us on YouTube. We'll try and stay away from the repetitive videos, and more exciting stuff to come.
I was just wanting to say thanks, Scott and Heath, for being on the show. Great guest. And then thanks for everybody in the comment section. Thanks for the callers we had. And Dennis, I hope you're feeling better.
I do too. And you guys hang on the line. I'll close the show out and be there in just a moment. If you like podcasts like this, be sure and check out Beyond Sight and Sound with Josh Kimmel on Sunday night and Wednesday night at 8 o'clock Eastern. And then All Metal Mode with Mike Hare and Gypsy Jules is on Monday night at 8 o'clock Eastern. On Monday night at 9 o'clock Eastern, I am with Butch Holcomb and Jeff Lupert on American Digger Relic Roundup. And then on Thursday nights and Saturday nights, Hardcore Metal Detecting has a show at 8 o'clock Eastern. And then XP Team USA has a show every other Friday night. And that is also at 8 o'clock Eastern. And me and Jeff will be back here next week. And we've got Maya Schofield, Miss Detectress, next week. So join us then. Thank you so much for joining us on Relics Radio. We really do appreciate it. Be sure and join us live each Thursday night at 7 o'clock Central Time, 8 o'clock Eastern here on Spreaker. Or you can catch the archive show at Relics Radio on Spreaker, iHeartRadio, iTunes, and many other podcast outlets. Relics Radio is also syndicated on GoodTalkRadio.com and has a show each Sunday afternoon at 2 p.m. Arizona time. Please take a minute and hit the like button and be sure and follow us so that you'll get notifications of all of our upcoming broadcasts. You can also find us on YouTube at Digging with Seven or Tennessee Jeff, or you can check us out on our Relics Radio Facebook group page or Adventures in History on Facebook. If you'd like to get in touch with us, then send an email to relicsradio@outlook.com. We'd love to hear from you. We hope you'll join us for our next episode, and until then, get out there and dig some history.